Hi guys, it's Miss Portillo. I'm super excited because this is not a novel study today. This is another addition to the Create a Plot game that I came up with. These are the videos that I love to do and get really excited to do, but my problem is I get a little too into the story, and so I end up writing too much and taking forever to get it finished. I'm not sure what you remember from the last time. Hopefully you rewatched the video, and I haven't received any of your submissions for the plot elements that I gave you. So I'll just refresh your memory. Our person was Robin Nightwing. The setting needed to be on a bridge. Remember, you can have multiple settings in a story, guys. Okay. The conflict is that he repeats the same day over and over and over, and it's character versus supernatural, which means he could have had a curse put on him or a spell or anything like that. And his solution was the magic of kindness. So I wrote the story, and as promised, I always draw a picture with my story, which is another reason it takes me a little bit longer to get it to you. My husband told me this looked like an old cartoon character he used to see, so I had to change it a little bit. If so, I apologize. I was just trying to draw a quick little sketch of Robin and what I saw when I looked in my head by him. Okay, so here he is. Here's Robin Nightwing. And if you take a look at his face. Okay, he looks kind of bored or kind of meh, bleh, you know what I mean? And then also, if you look around him, it says September 7th. It's a little desk calendar, and it says it over and over and over again. And if you remember, like we just said, Robin's problem is that he repeats the same day over and over again. Okay, so I'm going to read my story to you, and make sure you listen for those plot elements from the Create a Plot King, okay? And make sure you leave me a message about what you thought about the story. This one's a little long, so this video might be a little longer. Robin was an almost average kid. He had average grades and average clothes. He had an average home and an average family. In fact, his life was so average that he often got bored. And you could kind of tell that from the picture, right? And Robin hated being bored. He'd pick on kids at school, shove them into lockers, or steal their stuff. He'd play pranks on teachers and even his parents. Robin was a bully. He had a notorious reputation with everyone who knew him or had even ever heard of him. Robin loved the sounds of kids squealing as they ran away from him, or begging as he stuffed them into lockers or gave them swirlies. When Robin went home to his average house with his average parents and his average sister, he'd occupy his time by inventing new ways to torment them. One day, on his walk to school, Robin was stopped by an old man at the bus stop. This man was not average. He had a raggedy, yet bright, purple coat and crazy bedraggled hair. His eyes were an intense blue, almost unnatural. He was a perfect example of the people that Robin liked to pick on. Different and weird. The old man asked Robin for $1 to ride the bus. Snickering, Robin kept walking. "Yeah, right," he said. The old man tried again. "Please, young man, I simply must get on this bus. It's an emergency, I assure you. I'll find a way to pay you back. You have my word." Robin stopped in his tracks and turned around slowly to face the unusual old man. "You? Even if I had $1, why would I want to help someone like you?" Robin snarled in the old man's face. The old man was so startled he stumbled backward a few steps and almost fell. Righting himself, the old man bowed deeply, excused himself, and stumbled away slowly. Robin smiled to himself, chuckling. "Guess he's not getting on that bus." Robin did the same thing as he did every day at school, when he bothered to go to school. He slammed lockers in girls' faces. He shoved dorks into walls. He threw spitballs at his teachers in every period. When it was time for lunch, he tripped small children carrying their precariously balanced trays, dumped his milk on the floor for workers to clean up, and snuck out of the last 2 periods to hang out at home. So basically, he's skipping school a little bit. His sister was a goody-good, so she wouldn't be home for a while. His parents wouldn't be back for hours, and he had no friends. After all, even his family couldn't stand him. Why would anyone else? Robin walked back lazily through the woods behind the school, thinking about which video game he'd play when he got home. Fortnite? Nah, he'd play that the last 3 days. FIFA? Ha, too boring. Aha, I haven't played with the games in my closet in a while. I'll look through them. So he has a bunch of old games in his closet. His pace quickened at the thought of getting home and playing games. The only thing that Robin loved more than bullying was games. As he reached the edge of the woods, he saw something slightly familiar. A man in a bright purple coat? No way, Robin thought. As he slowed his steps and got closer, he knew he'd been right. It was the old man. How the heck did he know to be here? It had to be a coincidence. There was no way he still wanted that dollar. Still, it was kind of creepy, and Robin did the creeping. No one was going to step to him. He swerved left through the woods, taking a longer way around. Thinking he had to have lost the old geezer, Robin's thoughts went wandering back to his games. Suddenly, he stopped dead in his tracks, nearly tripping over a log in the process. The creepy, disheveled, purple-coated man with intense eyes stood before him now. How? Robin started but was too shocked to think. The old man held up his hand as if to stop him. He pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and laid it on the ground at Robin's feet. By the time Robin looked from the ground and back up, the old man was gone? He shook his head in disbelief. Remembering the paper, he pushed it aside with one of his sneakers. He resumed his walk home. What had been on it? How did the old man even find him? Why did he find him? Shaking his head as if to clear his thoughts, Robin continued. He made it home and did exactly what he'd planned to do. After finding an old game, he found a bag of chips and a soda while he waited for it to re-download. He stared at the condensation on the soda can. What was on that paper? He heard the mailman push the post through their door slot. He got excited. He'd been waiting on his new wireless controller to come on order. Walking quickly toward the front door, he stared. On the floor was an old, crumpled piece of paper, just like the one the old man had had. He jerked open the front door and looked wildly around for the old man. Nothing. No one was there. This guy was seriously starting to get on his nerves. He walked back into the house and locked the door, just in case. Did this old geezer have any clue who he was messing with? No one had ever and would never even dream of messing with Robin. He stopped and stared down at the floor. He could throw it in the trash. But what if the next time the old man found his way closer? Into the house? Into his room? Robin just wanted to be left alone. Fine, I'll read your stupid paper, he shouted. If that creepy old guy was still lurking, hear that. Robin picked up the paper, carefully unfolding it. It looked like it was about as old as the old dude himself. What is this? He thought to himself in disgust. Ugh, the paper stank and it was moist. He could only imagine then what the old man was like up close himself. What is this, a poem? Robin hated poetry, or reading of any kind for that matter. He wasn't dumb by any means, he just didn't care. He read the poem. Of all the days a bully to be, to take a closer look inside of thee, each time removed you will find as many days as it takes to rewind. What the heck did that mean? He threw the paper into the wastebasket as he walked back into his room. All right, his game was ready. The first thing Robin remembered when he awoke was rage quitting his game. He'd gotten mad and thrown yet another controller, sending it smashing into the wall. The second thing he remembered was that his blurring alarm clock was playing the same sorry song as it had been yesterday morning. Groaning, he reached over to turn it off. Huh? September 7th. Wasn't that yesterday's date? Shrugging, he got out of bed too. Were those the same clothes? His mom still laid out his clothes every night for him. Now, before you think of Robin as a baby, he demanded this of his mother. It promoted optimal laziness, which he was all about. Guess she did laundry twice this week. Robin threw on his favorite cap over his bedraggled hair and went to find breakfast. As usual, all the members of his family were scrambling out of the door. Robin never scrambled. He liked to take his time and didn't care if he was late to school. In fact, he felt like he'd play hooky today. After all of the weirdness yesterday, he definitely wasn't in the mood to put up with annoyances like teachers or dumb kids. Grabbing an apple and a soda, Robin walked out of his house and looked slowly around. Well, he thought, at least he wouldn't have to risk running into that old man again. Instead of walking through the woods again, Robin decided to walk toward a river that cut away from town. He liked to go there sometimes to think, although he'd never cop to that. Plus, it was close enough to home that he'd come back for food if he got hungry. After a few minutes of walking, he saw it, the bridge. It was really only for aesthetics, but Robin liked to sit on it so he could dangle his feet into the water and kick the fish. Sitting down, he munched on his apple and thought of possible solutions to beating the boss battle at the end of his game. Taking a long swig of his Coke, he glanced around. It really was one of his favorite spots, for one simple fact. No one ever came here, especially not during the day. Standing up to stretch his legs, Robin noticed something in the water. He bent down to pick it up. All right, it was a big silver coin. Maybe it'd be rare or worth some money. Flipping it over, he sighed. It was only $1. Still, Robin thought, it was $1 I didn't have when I woke up. He put the dollar into his pocket and took his time walking home. Robin spent the rest of the day gaming, binging on junk food, and napping. He really didn't care about anything else, except, of course, bullying. Finally, Robin went back to the same game from the night before. He had a new plan for kicking that boss's butt. Just as the game went in, he heard the post at the door again. Finally, he thought, his controller couldn't have come at a better time, especially after his rage quit last night. Robin ran to check. What? It was another crumpled old piece of paper. All right, old man, he began to shout and ran out the door. That is it. Searching wildly around, he felt like screaming in frustration. The old man was nowhere to be seen. He ran around the side of the house, hoping to catch him, but to no end. Continuing his search around the house, he ended up back at the front door. Yanking open the door, Robin picked up the piece of paper. He opened it and winced. It was the same poem from the day before. Of all the days a bully to be, to take a closer look inside of thee, each time removed you will find as many days as it takes to rewind. Real original, he shouted. The least you could do is give me a new one, old man. He crumpled up the paper again. Wait a minute. Robin ran to the wastebasket. Digging through it, he finally found what he was looking for and hoping not to find. The same poem? So now he had yesterday's poem and today's? What in the heck was going on around here? Robin crumpled, now 2, poems and chunked them back into the waste. He decided he would find that weird old goat tomorrow, and he was going to give him a piece of his mind. Robin fell asleep, thinking of ways he could pay back the old man for his pranks. The next morning, Robin woke up to the same song. September 7th. His clock must be busted, he thought. After brushing his teeth, he went to get dressed in the same exact clothes? Dropping them onto the bed, he went to find his mom. As usual, his family is scrambling to get out of the door on time. Mom, he shouted over the chaos. Mom! What? Mrs. Nightwing replied. Why do you keep washing the same outfit every day? I do not want to wear the same thing again. And since when do you do laundry every night? Robin, his mother sighed, I have no idea what you're talking about. I do the laundry on Sundays and you know that. Now I'm late for work. With that, she grabbed her keys and was out the door. Robin stared after her. With an exasperated sigh, he walked back into his room. He'd forgotten to turn his radio alarm off, and the forecast was going. It's gonna be another beautiful day. I'm Robbie Notes, and you're listening to The Wolf. Enjoy it, kids. September 7th only comes around once a year. Robin cut the alarm off and sat down on his bed, hard. What was going on here? Shaking his head to clear the confusion, Robin went to find a new shirt in the closet. He decided he was in no state to go to school again, and he definitely didn't want the old man to see him in the same clothes. He did the bullying, not the other way around. It would have to wait. Walking into the kitchen, Robin wished he hadn't grabbed the last apple yesterday before going to the bridge. He felt like he was stuck in a bad episode of The Twilight Zone. Grabbing a cold soda from the fridge, he turned and froze. There was one apple left? He could have sworn he ate the last one yesterday. Yes, he remembered it distinctly because he was going to have to gripe at his mom for not getting enough at the store. Something really weird is definitely going on here, he said to himself. Grabbing the apple, he decided to go back to his thinking spot on the bridge. He ate his apple, chugged his soda, and stared into the water. He just couldn't figure it out. Snapping out of his daydream, he noticed something in the water. Just like yesterday. He bent down to pick it up, but his brain had already processed what it was going to be. Sure enough, Robin picked up a silver dollar from the water. He felt defeated, as if his life was the same, and he felt annoyed. Chucking the coin, he threw it with all of his might into the river downstream. He got the distinct feeling that it would be back tomorrow. But why? Hurrying home, Robin wanted to test his Twilight Zone theory. Booting up his computer, Robin began to do some research. First, he searched for head traumas. Then he realized he was being dumb. He hadn't had any head trauma, other than the one causing him to lose his mind. He sat down and thought for a moment. Then he slowly typed in something even crazier, reliving the same day. He hesitated to hit enter. After all, it just wasn't possible, right? Then what was the harm? Before he could lose his nerve, Robin hit the enter key. He let out a breath he hadn't known he'd been holding. Several songs, lyrics, band names popped up. No, his problem wasn't a song stuck in his head, more like a song stuck on repeat. Scrolling down, he saw several links to myths and folklore. Really? Sighing, Robin began to read them. Some seemed ridiculous, stories that could never happen in a million years. Some seemed like they could be real life. Ordinary recounts from others claiming to have lived the same day over and over. He couldn't wrap his head around the concept. There was one thing that nagged at his brain, though. All the stories, crazy or realistic, they all did have one thing in common. The people in them had to learn a lesson. They had to right their wrongs, so to speak, in order to reverse the curse, spell, etc. that had been placed on them. That's so dumb, Robin said. What lesson could I possibly learn? Click, plop. The post was here. Robin did not want to check it again. He had a sinking feeling it would not be his controller, but instead another poem. His head told him to ignore it, but his feet said he had to know, to see if, once and for all, his theory was right. He stopped by the front door and began to shake. He felt his heart banging in his chest like an old pinball machine. There it was, the old, crumpled, moist piece of paper again. Robin didn't have to read it again to know exactly what it said, but he opened it anyway. Of all the days a bully to beat, he stopped. His heart sank, and so did he, dropping to the floor. What if this never ends? What if I'm stuck forever? I don't want to wear the same clothes every day, eat the same foods, hear the same songs on the radio, and I'm definitely tired of seeing this guy's poem. He paused. Bully poem. That meant something. He just had to catch it. Bully poem. Bully poem. He opened the paper and read it again slowly, as if he was reading it for the first time. He was a bully, but he always had been. What was different about that day? The old man, he thought to himself. That's what's been different. This all started when I bullied him. Breathing rapidly, Robin knew this must be it. Maybe, just maybe, if he found the old man, he could fix it. Hurrying toward his room, he began to grab his things. He did not want to live one more day over again. Rushing out the door, he ran his path to school. The bus stop was on the way. His only fear was whether or not the old man would still be there. Please, 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 he said quietly to himself over and over again. Please be there. Robin began to sprint right as the rain hit. Propelling himself as fast as his legs would carry him, he could see the bus stop in the distance. He picked up his speed, scarcely remembering to breathe. He made it to the bus stop just as the bus was pulling away. "Wait!" Robin cried. "No." He sat heavily on the bench and choked back tears as the rain streamed down his face. He didn't want to do this anymore. "I'm sorry," he yelled. "I'll do anything. Anything," he cried. "And that is all I wanted to hear," said the old man, stepping from behind a tree near the bench. Snapping his fingers, he smiled. "Make sure you don't forget. You've already had your second chance." Snap. Robin sat straight up. He was home? In bed? Bewildered, he grabbed for his alarm clock. It read September 8th. The end. I really like this story, and that's why I had trouble ending it and reading it to you guys. I could actually probably turn that into a book if I really tried, because I still had a lot of details that I wanted to put in there. Again, guys, I'm not saying you have to write a 20-page story when you're doing this plot game. I'm just saying give it a try. In fact, you could probably make your story half a page to 1 page, and that will count for your writing for the day. Okay? So I'm not going to give you any new cards for the plot game this week. This week, I told you guys I would be taking your suggestions. So I need someone to give me the ideas for a character, ideas for setting, ideas for conflict, and the text structure. So remember, with Robin, his conflict was that he was living the same day over and over again, but his text structure was character, that's himself, versus the supernatural. So he had a curse put on him because he was a bully, and he had to learn a lesson about how to treat others with kindness. Okay? So I'll need a setting, character or main characters, your text structure. I will also need your solution to the end. Okay, so whatever solution that you're going to use to solve this story. Okay, so my solution was that Robin had to learn a lesson, and magic or supernatural would cure him or cure his problem. I do want to go over the types of text structure one more time, guys. In fiction, we have 6 text structures. We have character versus supernatural. That's the one that I just did. We have character versus character. So the character has main problem or conflict with another character. Character versus technology. So it's got to be something technological. Okay, computers, robots, whatever you want to do with that. We have character versus Mother Nature. So maybe a natural disaster or something going on with that. We have character versus society. Okay. And we have character versus self. That means the character struggles with an internal problem, something that's wrong with them on the inside or something they're struggling with, as opposed to my problem versus supernatural, which was an external, an outside problem. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And please message me your ideas for the next story. Text me your plot elements, and I'll pick the best ones, and I'll make a new story. And, of course, I'll draw you a picture. All right, guys, I hope you're staying happy and healthy and safe, and I'll see you next time.